gentlemen, and welcome to Mathew'S Coffee Bar. I'm already having fun. Guys are already logged in, and it's absolutely going to be exciting tonight because we've got a million of things to just walk through, have a conversation, and have a discussion. I am sorry you're getting to start a little bit late by about 20 minutes or so. We had some other meeting in church, and so just that little bit of time lost. But don't worry, just log in. Here's where I want to challenge you to get your watch party going. We are going to have a serious chat and conversation with the gentleman and lady that's going to be logging in. Some already are logged in, and that's absolutely amazing. Oh, my name is Rev.Mathew Wambua. This is Mathew'S Coffee Bar. Here's where we want to say it as it is. We cut like knife through butter, and we spare nothing because we want to talk about which way Kenya, what direction should we go, want to provoke and especially the believer into a place of being knowledgeable, understanding where we are at and our assignment and responsibility so that we can not only pray with knowledge, but get involved in the future of this great nation. Of course, already on the show is yours truly, the one and only Kenneth Mdivo from United Kisumu is in the house. And of course, the other man that I keep on reminding you, he comes from 2 UKs. Yours truly, Joseph Odima from United Kisumu and the United Kingdom, called the Queensland, is in the house. Absolutely wonderful to have you on the show, Joseph. And then, of course, this man I've loved and I love sincerely. This man is amazing. I've seen him from I don't know when, can't even count. By the way, David, how is Rose? She was celebrating her birthday.
She's fine. She's here.
Say hi to her. Yeah, that's the man I'm introducing, the person of David Ewagata. Yes, Rose, great to see you. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
And God bless you. Thank you for lending us this guy. He always makes this show absolutely complete.
It's a pleasure.
Asante sana, Rose. God bless you so much. So, guys, here we are. This is Mathew'S Coffee Bar. The likes of Joy Mdivo are on their way. Richard Jogo on his way. And Emmanuel on his way. And the rabbi on his way. And then as they join us, we're going to have a great show. Well, quickly, guys, as we wait for these other guys to join in. David, did you notice that, we were just having a conversation with Ken earlier on, and some guy called Kebishu is saying there is going to be another mass and registration before we can get our Uduma number. What happened to the first Uduma number, seriously?
Came to pass.
It came. And it passed.
It passed.
Oh dear me, Kenya yetu, Kenya ni nchi ya ajabu. The Lord help us seriously.
We need to go on sabbatical as a country. We just close the country for innovation for like a year.
What are we going to be renovating, David?
Yeah, renovate. This one we cannot do when we are inside. We need to go out and have renovation, and then we can come back inside.
Oh dear me. Yeah, Kenya needs renovation. Oh my goodness. And then of course we are talking about someone else is also. By the way, I found it very funny, and I'm just trying to warm us up to this discussion because you wait for the other guys. Did you realize Kenya Meat Commission has been handed to the armed forces? Where did armed forces and cows meet, guys? Seriously.
You just asked David there, and David said that just close the country, which is true. Man, I don't know. Yani, these people, even the president and his guys, his cronies, they're thinking that again, Uduma number with all the billions that were poured out, nobody, there's no accountability that was brought in there. Now they want to talk about, and this is the same guy that we were being told by Akinatwoli that you give him some, he's still too young to retire. And I heard him saying today that even though he is younger, he will still go. In other words, after a PM it has got into his head that is young.
Yes.
Young to do what? Come on, man. On a serious note.
Seriously, today I actually wanted to pivot this conversation in a different direction because I thought we want to really move on and move ahead. But I'm finding it seriously every week stuff is cropping up, and you're like, okay, fine. Here is another thing we need to talk about. Here is another thing. I mean, seriously speaking, I'm lost. Honestly, I am lost because when you think about this nation and you think about some of the things we keep on seeing, it is absolutely crazy. Even now, leave alone talking about, having another mass registration before we get UNUPA number, having a KMC be given to the armed forces. Now they are talking about buying COVID-19 desks so that they can open school.
These are COVID-19 desks. There was a stimulus budget that was passed for 1.6 billion, and they're saying the tender is going to be given to the Juakali sector, to be able to purchase such kind of desks. I'm like, even if you buy COVID-19 desks or you use the same desks that used to be there, kama mtoto wako ni danda, the desk will not do anything, any magic at all to cause your kid to pass exams or what have you. But I think these are, I don't know, for lack of a better word, Rev.Mathew, I think people who missed out in eating during the COVID-19 millionaires are now looking for other ways of also eating. Because to be very sincere, I'm looking at this and I'm like, really? What does the national defense have to do with cows? To be very sincere. And C.S. Munya is saying he was acting under the order of His Excellency the President to transfer that. And just to look at it further, then I realize again, Ruto's son made 175 million Kenya shillings on the Kenya Meat Commission staff. So I'm wondering what is going on. I think even Junet Mohammed had actually said this is what people used to say, eating ng'ombe ni zetu. So, since ng'ombe is out, now they have to start eating. I'm just wondering what is happening with Kenya. And no wonder we're asking ourselves which way Kenya, because we don't even know who's going to redeem us right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm lost. I'm totally lost because, it was I think it was last week when it was announced the Kenya Meat Commission was actually given to the Defense Department. Now you are talking about already how much people have already eaten. And that is probably just what has shown on the surface. You don't know what is. Guys, help me handle this conversation. Seriously speaking, which way do we go as a nation, and especially as far as in the midst of these piranhas that are eating money like crazy?
The other way out. The other way out, I see it, Mathew.
Yes.
Sometimes, I don't want to be rational in my talk tonight, but the other way I see it, ni Mungu afunge hii nchi. Sorry, excuse me, Lord, help me, but I almost said something so serious. Is that, I know my brothers and fathers are there and everybody else, but I don't know. The way I feel are Kenyan. I'm not in Kenya at the moment, but when I see a country like where we are in now, our Prime Minister was being grilled today by Parliament. On what? In other words, they say that they are going to bypass the European law and they were not going to go with it, and there's a law they were going to pass in Parliament. And I'm telling you, he was being grilled by the whole thing, and then he had to reverse and say, listen, no, we're not here to break the law. We have to adhere to the law. I just pray. And I know that just like, we've been saying that it's not only about prayer, but we need to do something. I just pray that something happens in Kenya. My prayer is that something just happens in Kenya. Kama ni Mungu akuja wasimamishe watu, awasimamishe in whatever way God can be able to stop them. Whosoever it is, my spiritual father one time told me, Dima, usiombe watu wakufe because huyo ni baba ya mtu na ni bibi ya mtu. Na, so I do understand that bit. But having said that, with the theft that I can see in the country, people are now stealing without a care because they know that there's nobody who will bring them to account. They're in a place of authority. May heaven stop them. May heaven stop them. Bingu wasimamishe ndugu.
Mike, karibu sana. It's great to have you on the show. We were just missing your amazing smile, by the way, karibu sana. And we're just warming up. We've not even gone into any directed conversation here. We're just warming up as we're waiting for you guys. Because as we were having conversation earlier on, I mean, suddenly we realized they're now past money. Ken, did you say 1.6 billion towards the COVID-19 desks? So that would be a precursor.
Yeah, 1.6 billion.
1.6 billion towards COVID-19 desks. Then, of course, the issue of the Kenya Meat Commission being handed over to the Defense Forces, and already guys are already eating as a result of the same. I mean, seriously speaking. So, and then of course, Huduma number, we have to re-register again so that now we can get Huduma number. What happened to the first Huduma number? So this is just a sort of mess we are looking at and just asking ourselves, which way Kenya? What direction are we going to go as a nation?
Chips.
You know?
You know, it's interesting that in Papa Center, the theme for the October month is the nation of Kenya, the nation.
Yes.
And so we have to start creating some words regarding how does God exalt a nation. So, you know, these are some of the things you can tell that the nation is getting concerned. I don't know kama mumewatch video ya mse ana lead mambuzi to the Kenya Meat Commission to the military na wanatembea kama wamepiga salute. Mbuzi zimeangalia hivi ati zimeangalia rais. Zime salute.
Yeah.
But are we, like my brother Dima said, are we getting to the point of judgment? God is allowing, and I had Chogo say this one time, wacha waibe mpaka waibe mende. Ndio Mungu, you know, you force the hand of God.
Yeah.
It is interesting when, what's his name? Balaam was not able to get Israel cursed.
Yes.
Because the nation was blessed. But what he did, he knew, if I can turn their God against them, you know, so he threw in Moabite women. Those women must have been very pretty because, hey, Israel ilifanya dhambi mpaka ikapelekwa Babylon. I mean, what kind of women were these? But is what's going on, God allowing this situation to come to where he then has to judge Kenya. 1.6 billion has been allocated to new whatevers. I realized that I didn't know that Kenya had an anti-corruption law as far back as 1956. We had an anti-corruption law. Even before we got independence, God had already put in a law, anti-corruption. It's like he knew where we were going. And we are proving him right. So our concerns are legitimate. But again, I always come back to a man of God who said, a country can only go as far as the church allows it to go. What is our responsibility as the Church of Christ in Kenya?
Yeah. Good question. You know, I actually remember Ken Edward just, I think on this same forum, just talking about, it's like the stench of a theft and an evil in our society has reached God's nostrils, you know, and it's like God is just getting ready to rain his brimstone and fire. And I mean, seriously, when you see, it is so wanton right now. I mean, to be honest. I mean, it's just like this. You can see clearly every one of these schemes is somewhere someone is actually just putting it all together so they can find a way to siphon, my friend Kokonya loves to put it that way, to siphon money from the Kenyan coffers. And I'm glad you've raised the issue. What is the role of a church in terms of, because I was actually driving down here and I'm just wondering, are we allowed at some point to literally throw stones at these characters, kill them, and then we come back again to some of the conversation we had a couple of weeks back where we were talking about imprecatory prayer, where you curse them. And now you've talked about a man of God saying you don't curse them because they are someone's father. Someone's father who is eating and maiming other people's children, leaving them poor for life. Honestly, I'm lost.
That's why David, yeah. But just before Dave comes in, that's why I have a problem, Matthew. That's why I have a big issue when I hear somebody saying, oh, now we're going to track a pesa kanisani, that, we need to ask him where he took the money. Then I asked myself a question, that he himself, when his wife was receiving about 172 million, that money was not stolen, it was clean. Then somebody else, now when they are going to help somebody, it is that money that was stolen. If they are all these people, they're just a bunch of hypocrites. If I was asked today, I would say that the Lord stop these people. In fact, we need to get in a place of anger where we need to ask God, no, Lord, stop all these people, stop them. The way God will stop them, he knows.
Yeah.
Stop them. That's what's my mission now. Our toy and belly.
Yeah.
Yes, David.
We've come around. I think we've
Matthew, it actually even gets worse. You see, the reason I'm saying now, the county bill has not even gone through in the Senate. It is saying the other day at Lusaka's house, when he went out, he found a wheelbarrow outside his door. You remember that was a corruption Lusaka was found in, the carcinogenic wheelbarrows that were costing about 300,000.
Yes.
So it's like they're just trying to tell you, by the way, if you are not together with us in this thing, I guarantee you, whatever laws you guys want to pass are not going to pass. If you pass it, then we will resurrect, the dead. We will resurrect, the corruption that you used to do the other day. So we just need to pray that God just comes through in a different way. Because I was also reading this lady called Wahome. She had actually filed a lawsuit, against the brigadier, the guy who was given work by the president to manage Nairobi County, to bar him from coming to cabinet meetings. So you wonder how will he be reporting? Then again, at the same time, the MPs allied to Ruto have actually planned, to be able to cause things to be so messy against the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta, because it's like, he didn't do justice to the bill that was there. So it's like we just need to pray so much, not even pray, but we now need to get our horns and start talking, start talking and making noise so that people should know that, guys, we cannot continue to sacrifice the lives of Kenyans on the altar of corruption and politics. But politics need to change. How we are being governed need to change. Otherwise, we'll just be wallowing in the miasma of our own deceit, thinking that things are going to turn around, and yet we are doing nothing. I think we need to come with a strategy as a church on how to be able to block some people from getting back into power and ruling this country. This country is here, Mama Yao and here, Baba Yao. They cannot rule it the way they want.
Yeah. Thank you. David, sorry, you were saying something and came in.
The reality is that
Baba Yao, that's a strong one.
It has set people places.
Yes.
It has set people places. But this is the reality. I think we are harvesting what we have planted over the years. Last week when we talked, I said again, just the culture of betrayal, the culture of going the underhand way. I said this is the truth. We have not had a genuine election since 2002.
Yeah.
And so every other election has been contended. It has been contentious, and it has also been at a point where something has gone wrong. And if you ask the guys who have been in the back burners of things, they can tell you the truth is these elections have actually been cooked for the last like 3 or 4 elections. And so how do you expect somebody who cannot be faithful to your vote to be faithful with your money? How do you expect somebody who cannot be faithful even to his own or her own family? The moral decadence. And people say, oh, you know, we can get the politicians in and they can clean up, or we can get clean politicians, but the pipeline is dirty. It's like getting pizza and taking it with a city council garbage truck to bring pizza to your house, packed together with the garbage. There's no way it will arrive to you and you will be able to consume it. It comes already messed up. And we've been trying to do a minor surgery on a major condition. We're trying to do temporary restructuring on a permanent problem. We have to do a permanent restructuring. It's not time for us to say, oh, let's try and remove some guys. Let's wait for the election and perhaps, because we've waited for elections. We are now growing old. We've been waiting for elections where change will come. And change is not coming. And today I just went ahead and what I say, every 5 years, we reorganize our criminals. It's called elections. Yeah, every 5 years, we just reorganize our criminals. We know they're criminals. And we know they're...
It's just the same monkey, it's only a different forest.
We have the opportunity to reorganize them and move this one here, move this one here.
Yeah.
We have to get to the place where we say, we need to redo what we call our nation. When I say we need to close down and do renovations, it's not just a physical thing. We need to come back and say, the country is grinding to halt every day. With every day, what you're saying, like every week now, we have 2-3 things that are being said or changes that are being made that are just ridiculous. You're taking the meat commission to the army. Of course, people are lurching and say, oh, maybe because of the cartels, the military guys are going to be able to come and, you know, use their military might to straighten out the cartels. Then we say, oh, because of the corruption in the city council, they decided let the governor, you know, step back a bit and bring in the military guy to deal with the city issues. But the reality is, you're changing the branches, you're changing the leaves, you're not changing the roots.
Yeah.
The root of the problem has not been resolved. We're just trying to pick things here, and people, it gives a sense of hope. And then people realize, oh, actually this guy is actually on the same script, from the same tree, the same character, but just a new face. And so we have a benefit of doubt we give. Guys, we cannot go on with status quo. We are losing this nation. Our children are going to die without Medicare. They're going to die without education. They're going to die without a country to call home. And the moment this country grinds to a halt, and we are seeing already the political bickering going on between the head of state and number 2. If this country goes up, I tell people, I have no worries for Raila and Uhuru to go against each other. I have no worries about that. The big challenge in this country is Uhuru and Ruto. The day those 2 guys fall out, we will see stuff in this country. And we are seeing already the precipice. But we want to sit and behave like it's not happening. The drumming, the war drums are not being played. And we want to presume that it's going to be normal if things go the way they are going. They will not. And maybe that is what this country is waiting for it to actually implode so that we can become serious like Rwanda and say we have learned serious lessons, and we are not going to play around with our tribes, we are not going to play around with our resources, we are not going to play around with the future of our children. Perhaps maybe we need to get to that place where we will see blood on the streets. Then we can say, oh, let's get serious. Yeah.
David, I think I'm glad that you're just pointing and highlighting some of these dangers, these red flags that are beginning to rise up, and especially the political class and with the political scenario. And I think, well, I bless the Lord, we have a forum here that we can begin to really sensitize people to the reality that we will not just pray, we need to begin to really do what we need to do, whether it means going down to talk to the MCA, talk to the MP, talk to whoever be as pastors, use our pulpits, preach, against this thing, and not be silent and as timid as we have been, because there is danger looming and you can see it. Even as looking at the corruption, the eating and stuff that's going on, guys, I mean, I don't think we can just sit here and really just watch this happen. I believe that we are people of like mind here as far as seeing where the future of this country is going, and that we need to rise up in our place and just figure out what do we need to do to be able to push things. You know, right now, I know there's a lot that we can do in terms of the impact in the younger generation, the kids down there, discipling them, raising up, teaching leadership in churches and so on and so forth. But you have an emergency here. There's a fire beginning to burn. From where I stand, I think we need to figure out where we're going to get the fire extinguishers and start to extinguish this fire. Whether it is praying and doing something about this, I don't know. But I think that's a sort of thing you begin to see, and it begins to concern you that we have only 2 years towards the election, and right now the clamoring, the politicking is already getting to fever pitch. There is no longer any fear for COVID-19. Everywhere you go, there is no social distancing, but the very leaders who stand and wear masks, you know, and tell us keep the social distance, but then tomorrow they are on the road politicking, and there are millions that are listening, watching them, and yet.
And that's what I'm saying, Pastor Matthew.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We need to wake up. This is not the battle for collecting numbers and signatures.
Yes.
This is a battle for standing up and saying, listen, enough is enough. We need, you know, like the story of the David's mighty men in 2 Samuel 23.
Yeah.
And I was just sharing about this today, and I've talked about this a couple of times. And I'm like, these are men who, when everyone else was running, they stood their ground. There's one guy who, there was a lion that was in a pit during a snowy day. Instead of the guys saying, leave the lion in a pit, it's already stuck there. The guy jumped in there. Guys are like, boss, imekwama tayari, si wachane nayo. The guy jumped in there and killed the lion.
Yeah.
Because he's like, no, we're not going to risk. Some guys are told, David is wishing, I wish I could get just some water from the well, Jacob's well. 3 guys wake up and decide, maji itapatikana. And they went and fought through a military platoon and got the water and came back. Because they were like, we are not going to be limited by the assumptions and the things that we can't do things the ordinary way at this time. Because these guys are not doing things the ordinary way. The amount of money being stolen, this is not pocket money. This is not people going to build houses. This is money that is going to be collected for 2022. It's money that will be used either to buy votes or to buy weapons.
Yes.
And we can lie to ourselves that when these guys in Rift Valley are saying we are not going to let the insults go on, they are talking about going on the street with placards. They are not. We said this in 2007, 2008, and I remember being vocal about it, and guys were like, this is just, it's just political noises. Oh, there are weapons coming into the country. Oh, political noises. Oh, there are people who are organizing gangs. Oh, these are just political noises. Mogiki is regrouping. Oh, Civic Kamjes is regrouping. These are noises. This thing is gonna be ugly. And because we have refused to turn away from our wicked ways, and let me say this, it will not hit the president and his cronies without hitting us. Yeah. We are the body bags of these guys. We are the punching bags. That's why they say, no kwa wili wa kimenyana, ni manyasi inaumia. There is no way this thing will go down without having an impact on us. Already we are seeing it. Our education system has been stalled. They are not thinking even how to bring our children back to school. They are not a concern. The economy is on its knees. People have lost jobs. People have lost livelihoods. Families are in duress. Nobody is talking about, guys, let's get back and ask ourselves, is Tanzania dying? If Tanzania is not dying, let's open the economy and let people go back to work. Let people go back to school. No, because we have eaten COVID money, therefore let the people, because we're the punching bags of the leaders who have eaten the money, let them continue and eat and stay at home. At the end of the day, it's us, our children, who will be put on the battlefront. These guys will book flights. They will charter flights to come and pick them. That's why they need hundreds of millions, not hundreds of thousands. That's why they need millions to be able to charter a flight to come and pick them. and carry them to Belgium, where they will be given diplomatic immunity. Wewe na mimi tutaingia Tanzania, Somali, Uganda, ama Indian Ocean.
Tanzania mtaingia, Magufuli wawafukuze.
Magufuli wawafukie. Uganda, Museveni will not joke with us. Even now, he has not opened the border.
Yeah.
South Sudan is at war. Somali is no man's land. We have to figure this out because we have no neighbors to run to. Every other country around us has a neighbor to run to. We have no neighbor to run to. So it's either we speak now or watch it happen.
Oh, dear me. Well, guys, let me just appreciate, of course, a good bunch of people that are commenting and sending their logging in just to join in the conversation, like the likes of Momi Keseko, Blessed Joy, Mary Wanjiro, Pauline, Mona Lisa. Thank you, Pauline. Always a joy to have you on board. Lima Solo, and then, of course, we have Anne Mainga, Kokonyo, Emmanuel. You shouldn't be watching. You should be with us because I sent you your link. Susan Mwangi, Mutuku Santaliz, Angela Mikali, Frank. And then, of course, Ken, you got your fingers working hard, Ken. You are already chatting with guys on Facebook. That's awesome. The culture of betrayal is too much. People are operating in fear. Because if you talk, you will be silenced. And then you're going to say corruption is too much. Jamanini, we are still borrowing money from World Bank to a time of almost 60 billion for the railway line to Nanyuki, Kisumu, Yawa. Hey, Lois Camboy, thank you. Helen Sarah, thank you. Sharon Correo, thank you. Kelvin Ambunya, thank you. Helen is saying, corruption is a disease that needs God, the greatest physician to heal. Corruption is an evil spirit that has invaded our nation. Intensive prayer to nullify the spirit. Absolutely true. Helen, and then on YouTube, I've got one weekly Munyoki saying, I think we need to change our voting ways. Each time we vote, we say that we are voting, choosing the lesser evil. It's high time we chose godly, and we say no to the lesser evil. Remember, the lesser evil is evil. Then Garauri has just logged in, and we will be doing 2 billion on a daily basis until 2022. Guys, the reality is this, and we have been having this conversation, actually talking here, doing, back and forth about the evil we see. But I think it's really, really, really being raised every single week to the next level. And what David is saying is so profound. And if we be God's prophets and we are seeing the evil that is infiltrating our society, we have an assignment and a responsibility to shout from the rooftop. And I know, some blood is going to be spilled here because you won't shout and these eaters just leave you alone. But I think we need to figure out a way to be able to really bring Kenyans to a place of understanding. We let this thing run. Like what you said earlier on, the minute there is a divorce between the president and his deputy, it's a no-brainer that trouble is brewing.
Yeah.
Judging by what we are seeing, some of the guys in Rift Valley speak and the insults that they're beginning to trade, the battle lines are already being drawn. And that is something that should actually cause us sleepless nights if we be prophets in this country. I'm glad some of the brethren and guys that are logging and talking about prayer, and obviously that is the first port of call. But I think praying will not just suffice until we also begin to shout from the rooftops and figure out a way to really sensitize our people that we cannot allow another 2007 to happen, another time of clashes to happen. Because, as long as these two guys are running together, it's been fine. But right now, you can see a divorce is already, it's already done. It's only pen to paper just to make it official.
Yeah.
And that in itself is spelling a lot of challenges and problems that we can see getting ready to happen in our country. What do we do, Mike?
And I was going to ask, I was going to ask a question because I've been doing quite some research on these things.
Yes.
And I came across a question that was really, it challenged me, and it's asking, when cultures or nations go corrupt, is it just the leadership, or is it the entire nation that goes corrupt? In other words, is the guilt of Kenya only at the political spheres, or are we finding that this thing has permeated every fabric of our society? And I think, when I look at it, is that corruption has infiltrated. So, like when God judged the world in the days of Noah, you know, he said the whole world was evil and every man's imagination was evil.
Yeah.
When the angels came to Sodom and Gomorrah,
yeah.
you know, it wasn't just the political leaders that wanted to have an affair with the angels. It was everyone wanted a piece of these angels. You know, the nation of Israel, God constantly condemned the nation of Israel, not just the political leaders. And that is what is causing me concern, because when we talk about Mathew'S who drive with impunity, I mean, you know, where did they learn that? When police are taking bribes, I mean, kuingia gate ya parliament hapa lazima uchote huo msee ndio ingie ndani, otherwise wingi, you know, and yet the man lives in Kibera. And it seems that this corruption has, so, you know, because I always used to ask myself, why did God judge the Amalekites? And he told Saul, kill every man, every woman, every boy, every child, every donkey, every cow, mbuzi, kila kitu. I mean, what was the issue there? But now I'm starting to see that when rot begins, rot goes down to every fabric of the society. And that is where the church can become so powerful, because we are able to transform from the pulpit to the pew to the parliament. We are able to, we are the ones who are the feet on the ground. We are saying if there's a fallout between the president and the vice, there will be blood shed. But you know, they won't be the ones fighting. It is us who will be fighting. You see what I'm saying? It is us who will be shedding blood. In other words, they are able to corrupt us. But what if we said no? I'm not going to raise my panga. You know, when Stalin killed 100 million Russians, you know, he wasn't the one doing the killing. When you know, they did a statistic study and found out that the Germans knew what the Nazis were doing to the Jews. But you know what? Don't ask, don't tell. Jinyamazie tu, you know. There's a way as a church we can prophetically rise to our occasion and address these situations. And it would be very surprising that they will find that the 100 billion Kenya shillings will become totally irrelevant. They have absolutely, because our integrity is worth more than just money.
I love what you're saying. Yes, go on, David.
I think what Percy is saying is very critical for us, because and we've had these conversations very much where we say, you know, yes, there's corruption in government, but you look for a good mechanic, and you realize corruption is not just in government. You meet the policeman on the road, and you realize it's not the state that is pulling this card of corruption. Yes, there's a part that the state plays in that there is no recourse. I get arrested for talking on the phone. The fine at the court of law is 500 shillings. When I get to the court of law, I pay. They have a pay bill that I can pay my fine with. Why should I go and waste the time of a judge who has trained for 7 years to tell me I was talking on the phone? I know I was talking on the phone. My fine is 500 shillings. I should be able to pay my 500 shillings and go on with my life. And if I am a repeat offender, then maybe they can say, by the third time you are caught in this same offense, when we see your number again show up paying a fine for talking on the phone, we will escalate it.
Yeah.
So that I am not put in a place where the easiest thing for me to do as a citizen, a law-abiding citizen, is to do the corrupt thing.
Yeah.
But the system is wired that way. But we as citizens also, and I like what Pastor Mike is saying, it's the truth. we'll take shortcuts. We will lie to each other. We will defraud each other. We will preach even a gospel that is not true to make money out of it. And I like what he says, as goes the Bible says, as goes the prophets, so goes the nation. And so we are not far behind our political leaders. When 2022 arrives, the Christian leaders in this country will most likely align behind some political bodies out there. And those political bodies have been known to be corrupt, have been known to do all these uncanny things, but because they will bankroll these pastors, they will be there to champion them. They will be there to pray for them and say, this is God's man for the season. I reached a place where I said, no. Even the devil is God's devil.
Yeah.
And he was anointed. And so don't tell me that he's our man, he's anointed. No. Sometimes God anoints a king to bring punishment. Somebody said, when God wants to punish a nation, he gives them the leaders they deserve. And so it's not obvious that when a king is put and installed on the seat, it's because we have been blessed by a king. It's sometimes because you have been so difficult, mumepewa kiboko. So let us come back to a place where we say, yes, we have made a mistake. And we own it. Nehemiah owned the sin of Israel and said, surely, Lord, we have sinned, and rightly so, and you are right to judge. But please, remember your promise to David. Remember your promise to your servants and restore us. I confess on behalf of my people. I confess on behalf of my community. I confess on behalf of my nation. And we are not going to just confess and then go back to status quo. Unfortunately, that is the curse of the African church.
Yeah, that's true.
So we need to be able to confess and then walk a different way. When we begin that journey, rally men and women who are of character and begin to say, we will not walk this journey again. Until that begins to happen, we are not going anywhere. We will reach 2022. We will endorse our tribesman. Forget about that. You are the man of our church. It's our tribesman. It doesn't matter which side we are coming from. We will endorse our tribesman. After we do the endorsement, when push comes to shove, and I'll tell you this: the story of Rwanda. One of the biggest perpetrators of the genocide was the church.
Yeah.
The bishops literally pulled down their own sanctuaries on top of their members. Because when evil pervades and the prophet is not in tune with God, they will behave in a more sinister way than even the king.
Wow.
And that's where judgment, that's why the Bible says judgment begins in the house of the Lord.
Yes.
Kama kuna watu wanashikwa na wazimu, let me tell you, if there are people who will be caught with the madness of killing in this country, if we get there, it will be the men and women of the club. Because those are the ones who God are closest to God. Remember, even in the Israelite setting, they said that the prophets and the priests and the Levites stayed next to the temple, so that in case the Lord breaks out, they will be the first recipients. Yeah. Perhaps God will find righteousness amongst them and relent. But if God comes out in power, then they are the first recipients of that punishment.
Yes.
If madness is going to come from the house of the Lord for this nation, God forbid, it will start with us as the ministers. Yes. So we need to come back and say, Lord, we bring ourselves, because we know if this nation goes this way, we are going with it.
Yeah.
You know, Matthew, I was just kind of thinking something elaborately as we were talking. And as David said, and Mike, shared a bit, and Ken, that going forward, I think where we have reached, and this is what I feel, and if I'm wrong, please, I want you to correct me, that the kind of prayer we need to pray right now. Hello? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, go on.
Yes, that the kind of prayer we need to pray now, we need to pray two kind of prayers. We need a prayer meeting to pray against who and who should not be. Mentioning them by name because we know them already. Si ya kwamba ndio tuombe, tutafuta Mungu ya kwamba oh Mungu God show us. We already know Fulani is dirty, Fulani is dirty, Fulani is corrupt, Fulani is a thief. Na tuambie Mungu simamisha hawa, because the heaven will hear us. Hawa wasione hiyo kiti. na vile utasimamisha unajua, then God raise up a people on this particular day. I don't know, man of God, because that's where we have reached. Because unajua hii kila mara tunazunguka, and just like you've been saying, we can go. What is Ken saying? We can go.
The prayer meeting will end in tears.
Yeah. We shall be tear gassed. Okay. So be it. Your prayer meeting, me, I'm ready for it, brothers. Ya kwamba hata kama we rally the body of Christ together. Hatusema fulani na fulani na fulani na fulani. We are praying against it. Men of God, that is where we have reached. The Bible says from the day of John the Baptist till now,
Yes.
the kingdom of God suffereth violent, and the violent taken by force. Time has come that we need to be violent, men of God. Time has come right now that if we have to stop this thing, we have to come out of the closet.
Yes.
And just like Richard Chogo said, he is ready to be sacrificed as a sacrificial lamb. I also lay my head, Michael, on the chopping block.
Can I respond?
Go on, sir.
He's saying he's putting his head there and he's in the UK. He's not in
No,
Kenya.
I'm coming over, man. I'm coming over.
But again, Reverend Matthew, I think on a very serious note, we need to rally all our Christian lawyers, because I know there's a Christian Lawyers Association. We need to rally all our Christian lawyers, and as a church, communicate to them our desires and whatever we need to say with regard to, the matters corruption, matters politics 2022, and the persons we think should be in power. And then again, the other thing we need to do, those that God has privileged in our Christian circles, those that God has privileged, we should reach out to the so-called born-again MPs, CSS, and PSS. Because if they truly love Kenya and if they truly love God and they purport to be Christians, then these things should not be happening in their nostrils. They should be reading this scripture that says, if the Lord draws a sword to destroy a nation, and you are the watchman, and you don't warn the people, then that sword is on your head. And I think those are some of the scriptures that a majority of believers who are in places of power forget. That whenever God puts you in a place of authority or in a position of influence, your responsibility is not to go there and make money and become rich and become a tycoon. No. Your responsibility is to be able to shine as light in this wicked and adulterous generation. Your responsibility is to go there and bring change. But a majority of the believers who are in those positions apparently are also eating with the corrupt people. As much as their names are not being mentioned, but they are part and parcel of whatever is going on. Because I've never had any Christian, PS or CS or MP or senator or women rep standing on the floor of the house and saying, by the way, this is against, this is against what needs to be done. We cannot continue to do A, B, C, D. We've not had these Christian guys talking. They're quiet. They're just so quiet. So I think we need to pray, as Odima was saying, God should, release some fire on them to remove them from their comfort zones and start speaking on the floors of those houses. And the Christian lawyers should also help us. Because some of us, if right now I decide tomorrow, I want to go to parliament, to give a petition concerning a particular thing, I will either be jailed, tortured, or they will tear gas me, or I will disappear from nowhere. Yeah. But if we have people in power that we can be able to speak to, people who we can be able to call and they can listen to us. If our fathers who have got influence can just, call those people, not even if it's not a conference, but just to call them to have a discussion with them and tell them, guys, God has put you in those places to be our mouthpieces. Please don't be silent. Just go and talk on our behalf. Because the life of Kenya is in some of their hands. Because as much as we pray and we don't have a strategy on how to deal with these corrupt people, then we're just going to be praying and waiting until the Lord will move. But this is a time whereby we need to tell God, give us wisdom on how to sort out these people. And now begin to tell our Kenyan people on our pulpit, guys, you cannot continue to vote along tribal lines. You cannot continue to vote because you have been given some few shillings, to go and eat for a day or two. Don't sacrifice Kenya on the altar of corruption. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
But listen, Ken. Listen, Ken. Yes, it's a good thing for us to say that. But this year has crippled many people's economic muscle. And these politicians know that. They know that right now we are at the beck and call of anybody who will give us even 50 bob. If you listen to the number of crises that are going on in families, if you hear the stories of people who cannot make ends meet, look at Nairobi right now. The population has dwindled. We've lost almost 1 million people in Nairobi who have gone back to their villages. That's why there's no traffic jams. You can calculate your hours. So the economic impact of this thing and the stealing that has happened has been combined to put us in a place where when you tell these young men, go on the street and fight, they will go. Okay? That's one. Because they're thinking, I need food today, not tomorrow. And that is why the systematic disempowerment of the people of Kenya has been ongoing for a long time. Anything that would bring resources to the people of Kenya has been cut short. Be it services, be it better quality education at a cheaper price, be it mitigation of costs like fuel. Right now, fuel has reached 105. Nobody said it's going to jump from 102. It has just been quietly added. I just looked today and I noticed, oops, we are at 105. 120 is not very far from 105, considering that we were at 80 the other day. Where is that money going? Nobody's talking about it. Every time a Kenyan goes to pay for fuel, he pays four or five times what the person in the UK or the US pays for fuel. And my salary is a tenth of what the person in the UK or US is.
Yeah.
So we cannot even stand up and say no, because we are at the beck and call of these guys. Every sick person in hospital is waiting for a harambe. Who is the guy we call? MCA, MP, governor, whoever. So we need to be able to know that we are at a hard place. And that's why I'm saying it will not be normal ways of doing things. The preaching on the pulpit to say, guys, we need to change our leaders has been preached. We have done this several times. We brought in Akina Mutaba Musimi. We brought in, even the deputy president was in the CU University, William Samuel. He's come in and reached there. But there's something there that is not responding to our push. All those guys we are taking there are just hitting corners and being hit down and losing their faith and unfortunately having no impact. Even for the good ones, I know there are some MPs who are born again and committed. They even meet in parliament and pray. But they are not moving the boat because they are going there and hoping that when I sit as an MP in the parliament seat, I'll be able to change things. And you realize you are shifting chairs in the Titanic. If the Titanic is sinking, if you put the chairs in a row, they will still sink. If you put the chairs stacked together, you will still sink. If you take the chairs and say, I will carry the chairs so that they don't drown, you will drown with the chairs in your hand. So we are not dealing with the chairs in the Titanic. We are dealing with the whole Titanic. So we have to do a critical analysis and move a different direction.
One little thing I can add here. So, and I'm one of those people who likes looking far and wide. Responsibilities and freedoms are inextricably tied together. Responsibility and freedom. Mtoto akiwa mchanga, when they are very small, they have absolutely no responsibilities, but neither do they have liberties. They do not have freedoms. You see, everything is done for them. They cannot say, leo, dalalapa napale, you see. But as they grow older and they become a little bit more responsible, make your bed, do this, come and eat breakfast, then a little freedom is given. And that's how we raise our kids, so that by the time, they are teenagers and all that, you expect that because they are showing responsibility, greater freedoms are given. So like a person who commits a crime, because he showed irresponsibility, his freedoms are also removed. Now, what is true for individuals is also true for nations. If a nation cannot govern itself, God ensures, if you cannot govern yourself from within, I will govern you from without. You see, so because you are showing irresponsibility, then I will also take away your freedoms. I've always wondered why it is God has allowed this nation. What is it that we put on our contracts with countries like China such that they can afford to give us the amount of loans they give us? What is our title deed ya land? Ni nini tunapatianaga ndio wanasema, you know what, okay, we can give you this loan because we can see in case you don't pay, this is, you know, what is it we give to the IMF? And I'm asking myself, is God saying, allowing these things, knowing that one day he will allow, because this country is irresponsible, let me remove their freedoms. Because they cannot govern themselves from within, I will govern them from without. Na kama Mungu atatu govern from without, I can tell you it will be the most painful, because these people, no matter what civil war they cause or whatever they do, this time the person they're dealing with is different. You know, if China went and looked, was it China who went and looked at which nation was this, and they said, give us your port for the next 120 years. You know, if China came and said, you know, amwezi katulipa deni yetu, simtupatie Mombasa for the next 300 years. Unajua wasi wametuweza. Now, no matter tuchapane Wakamba na Wakikuyu na Waluya, Abuogoya, Omera, Bwana, all that stuff. Tumewezwa. And so, but God uses that to discipline us, you know.
Yes.
I'm told in Angola right now, and how I know is because, you know, the Muzungu in this nation, si sawa na Hamakare, nasikia sawa mekimbia Naivasha, eh? You know, because the Muzungu, you know, he's up there, he puts his nose in the air, he does not want to mix with us. But I knew we were being conquered when you're driving to Dala, Kisumu, unakuta mchinese anakuuzia bananas on the road. Kuna vile. Yani unatoka Kariobangi hivi, mazi umeenda kununua mei, ati mazi shenka shangha ni neighbor wako hapo Kariobangi. Yani yani anauza mtumba na wewe. That's when you know we are being overcome.
But I'm just reading a few comments, and then you guys can go on from Surface Babu. Tuku Santa Liz from Facebook says, yes, Rev.Mathew, we need wisdom to spill the truth in such a way that they don't get a chance to silence us. See what has happened to Honorable Sudi and Malala. We need wisdom to fight corruption. The fight is getting wild. Injustice and bloodshed is immense. Wow. I hear you. Then on YouTube, we have An Murabula saying, let the prayer meeting end in violence, but the heavens will respond. I think he's responding to the tear gassing that Jadon Kenneth said earlier on. And then I've got Isaiah obviously just asking, why do you think there is no man of God who has claimed that there was given a prophecy of the pandemic before it happened? God could be showing us that we aren't closer to him as we claim. He goes on to say, as a man of God, we should focus on working on rebuilding our relationship with God. Politics is a dirty game. I'll let you guys respond to that as we move forward. Wambua Kariuki says, very true, Rev Ken, and yes, there are Christian Lawyers Association, e.g. Kenya Christian Lawyers Fellowship, among others, which can help in doing civil education to Kenyans and more so Christians. I think somebody is giving us some positive suggestion there. You know, in the sense of trying to figure this thing out. Then civic education, she goes on to say, to help get rid of the ignorance, most of us Christians, in respect to politics, even as we pray. I think that's great wisdom coming from Wambua Kariuki. God bless you, Wambua. And then, of course, let me come back to you guys, because you have my own little chat here. Richi Yose wakajaribu kututia gas, tutatafuta reinforcement ya Legio Maria. And then from Kenneth, that's the biggest impediment. They should now act as they pray. Okay. Then Ken goes on to, God have mercy, Rabbi. You scare me at times. Actually, they did a flat at Mlango Kubwa, na lifts. All right. Guys.
You know, I just wanted to say something, Ken, before Richard comes on. That comment that politics is a dirty game. We, as men of the cloth, we need to stick into the church. That is where people of God, I would say that some of the church have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And our forefathers, you know, of course, you know, they had to do what they had to do. Of course, you know, they've done a fabulous job and what need to be done. But I think the time has come, especially us now, who are in our dispensation that we are in now, to simplify kitu sahi. I can tell you for sure. If we don't do, if we don't allow Chogo to be sacrificed as a sacrificial lamb now, then we're in trouble. Somebody has to rise up. Somebody has to rise up. I don't know who that somebody is. Me, I'm ready, my friends. I know Ken said I'm abroad, but man, it's only 8 hours, my buddies. If you want me, it's only 8 hours. It's only 8 hours, and I'm in the land, David. I'm in the land. Something must
you landed, then we have to quarantine you for 14 days.
No, I come with a COVID. I come with a COVID certificate. I'll come with a COVID certificate.
Come, baby, come. Come, baby, come.
Baby, come. You know, come, baby. I'm coming, my friend.
Before reaching weighs in on this, I have one Helen Sarah saying our forefathers were colonized by the white people. They fought physically and won the battle. Now corruption is colonizing us. We need to fight spiritually on our knees in order to win the battle of corruption. I mean, there goes then again the two-edged sword, guys. But we are talking, but we're also praying. We're on our knees, kind of just calling upon God. Rich, it's great to have you on board. We seriously speaking, I had a clear direction in terms of what I wanted to do with this. But the minute we started off, of course, all kinds of feedback and reports are springing up in our political arena. We said, man, we've got to talk about this. We've got to vent because it is getting into ugly levels right now. David, your hand is up. It looks like there's something burning hot. I want to hear it, and then we can probably bring in Richard and his contribution in this conversation.
It's called technological handicap. I was trying to do something else and the hand went up. But anyway, now that I'm already here and I have the mic, let me just say this. I think it's a good thing that we are talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think even as we talk about it, we need to pray and be very intentional about what steps do we take.
Exactly.
And when I was talking about the David's mighty men, God raises men for seasons and times. And we need to be able to ask ourselves, are we the kind of men who can be able to be counted on? I was just having this thought. I'm like, what will I tell my son when I'm retiring to go to the village? And I'm telling him, my son, this country is a mess. And he tells me, so what have you done? You've been a pastor for 40 years. By the time I'm going to retirement. And I tell him, you know what, I've served the Lord all my life. And he asks me, so what has been the fruit of your 40 years of serving the Lord in this country? What will I tell my son? What will I tell my daughter when she tells me, I've been played by 10 men. This one comes, lies to me. This one comes, lies to me. This one broke my heart. This one tried to use me. And I'm telling him, I've been serving the Lord. And for the last 40 years, I've been raising men and women of character and integrity. And she asks me, where are those men and women of character and integrity? What will I say to her? Because that is the sum total of our call and ministry. If we can't see the transformation, not just saying, oh, we are going to heaven, but to see the salt and light at work in bringing hope and bringing sanity and bringing transformation to our community, to the point that, you see, by the 12th century, Constantine realized if you're not a Christian, you're not going to be emperor. And so he sits down and figures out, you know what, the only way to stop this movement from overrunning me is to join it. And so he makes Christianity the state religion. And he is at the forefront of it and saying, now we are all Christians. Because he realized at the pace at which Christianity is taking ground and the believers are changing things, he has no choice but to be part of that bandwagon. We need to get to the place where now the systems of the nation are saying, you know what, if you're not working with this men, with this movement of men and women of God who are saying, we will walk in integrity, my friend, you're losing ground. And I think I have an idea that I've been toying around and I've shared with a few of my friends. There are many movements around. There's Team Mafisi, there's Masponyo, there's, there's even guys who call themselves Thieves of Jubilee, and they're not afraid to be known as the Thieves of Jubilee. The cartels, they're known, and they meet. And they have coffee together, and they say COVID money is coming. We finish with COVID money. There's maize money that is coming. We are going to make sure maize does not grow in the country. We will get maize tenders free. Then they finish with maize, they say sugar is coming. And so they are sitting somewhere, and literally, how do you tell me, by the time we were being told safety belts are needed for every public vehicle, there was a ship in high seas with enough safety belts to supply the whole country? It's people who sit down and plan this thing and execute, and they make a killing overnight. And they go home and, eat their caviar and sip their, expensive wine and say, we're waiting for the next day. Why can't we organize as men of integrity? And I'm saying, men who have said, we will live in integrity, we will leave our nation better than we found it. Why can't we mobilize and say, let us come together? Let us form that movement of men. If a man is arrested and we know it's unjust, we as men of integrity will go and fight for him. Why? Because we have 1,000 lawyers among us. The top cream of lawyers in this country who are believers are within this group. If somebody is defrauded, we say we have we have 1,000 policemen in this group who are believers. Send them out and let them go and deal with that case. And in every sector, we clamor to bring in the men of character, because it's every sector. And we are saying that even mechanics, doctors, teachers, we need to permeate this place and say there are men of character in this place. The moment that cream begins to rise, they will have to say, no. We can't fight these guys, because they are not fighting alone. Because if Pastor Mark is arrested today because he has said something here, and we all go home and we sit and nobody stands up, he will stay inside. If Pastor Ken goes and writes a petition and takes it to Parliament, and he chains himself to the gate like Omutata did, and he's clobbered and taken to cell, and none of us, all the good men in this country, show up to say, no, he cannot be tied in there, he will be inside. His family will lose their father. But we will have lost because our voice has been thrown in prison, but we have not gone to support it. So rally good men, rally good women together to fight for this nation.
Just let me ask a quick question on that. And then Richard, please answer me, because I'm thinking you're the one who should come in next. But the Christian at the marketplace, we are pastors, and sometimes I feel, for me, and I will repent on my own behalf, I'm blind to what goes on in the marketplace. And so I can afford to be very pure because I'm within the church spaces. But there are those who, for their businesses to happen, the systems have been so tightened that you really at some point have to pass some money under the table for your deal to pass. Now, it's not that they're doing it because they want to do it, but it's because it is so crazy. I remember one guy telling me, you're running to this meeting, it's going to be a 50 million Kenya shilling deal, alafu nashikwa na polisi hapa maze bypass. Yani saa mse anataka uende kotini saa hiyo, maze saa hiyo sasa, yani gari itoiwe. And man, in 30 minutes, there's this 50 million Kenya shilling deal you need with these foreign investors. So you end up chotearing the cop, is 1,500 Kenya shillings or whatever. But right there, you see what I'm saying? But it aches you. But because of the impunity of the cops, because they just want to torture you because they know, So how do we deal with these situations? Are we calling them pure black and white? If the foundations be destroyed, what do the righteous do?
Sasa maswali ngumu ni ya nini?
Before you bring in your contribution, let me just read a couple of comments that are coming. In fact, someone is saying, Choco is a sacrificial lamb. Hilarious. Love the conversation. And then Oscar is the same Oscar as Sabini. Wagara is clear that we need to see the fruit, good fruit, and much of it. Millie chimes in and says, at times we pray for our nation with good intent, but out of ignorance and end up missing the mark, e.g. BBI. Even when voting, we have lacked the knowledge to know our role as voters and believers. Then Oscar again comes in with a contribution. Believers are crooks, sorry to say. We are the champions of operating supplies tenders from our desk drawers. Walala, wololo richi. We are literally just bringing down this conversation. But again, your friend Kenneth was actually responding to you, Richard. You are in trouble. He said, Richard did not discuss the sacrifice part with his wife. You haven't too. Even now the decks are coming or have arrived. Kenneth, he says, where did the Transparency International go to? Go on, Richard.
I think transparency. Somebody said Transparency International got some color. It's no longer transparent or something. But, yeah, I've not discussed with my wife. Thank God she doesn't many times watch this program because she's an early bird. Not an early bird. She goes to bed early. Sorry. She goes to bed early sometimes. So I hope she doesn't follow up on this. But I have not discussed with her about dying. I think I will let her know just before we go for that mighty rally. I'll just let her know tomorrow I'm going for this rally. So but question that Reverend Michael Musembi, the rabbi himself, has asked. It's like the question that Jesus asked Nicodemus, Michael's fellow rabbi. You know, it's a very gray. This is where we have a very gray, and it's really gray for the Christian. That there's a time we tried to teach in our church through the book of Daniel, and we're doing a series to prepare for the marketplace. Very nice series, preparing guys for the marketplace. And we could go to the small groups to discuss implementation. And guys would just tell us, guys, pastors, we love your sermons, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. The reality is that out there, you have to be very ingenuous or ingenuous, whatever, one of those. And you have to facilitate things. You know, there's facilitation. In fact, it is Christians who have given this bribe different names: facilitation, advanced gratitude. You know, things like that, just to oil the machine, because it's a very difficult playing field. So I don't think there's a quick answer to this, except that long process that we have talked about over and over again. We have to raise a critical mass. We have to raise a critical mass that shall be out there to help us. Where if I go to that office and they tell me I have to bribe, I know there's a brother in that space who I can say, you know, I've been asked to bribe and I cannot, intervene. And they can write a letter, they can do this and that, they can intervene. I mean, there's a brother, a pastor. They are planting a church somewhere in Nairobi, and they have bought a tent for about 3 million, and they want to set it up. And he went to the sub-county offices, and the sub-county official there is bold enough to ask for a 200,000 bribe, saying because tents require a special license. So if you don't give us 200,000, you will not set up your tent. We will demolish it. Can you imagine? They are so brazen bold to ask that. And so it's a painful thing. But I've got 3 proposals with regards to the long, difficult process of raising a critical mass. I'll talk about 2 Elijahs and Obadiah. Let me start with the Elijah who is not in the Bible. His name is called Elijah Muhammad. He was a leader of Nation of Islam. I used to dismiss those people. By the way, I used to dismiss the whole concept of Nation of Islam until I watched a certain documentary and read one or two things about Elijah Muhammad. Do you know that Elijah Muhammad led that group to become an economic powerhouse? They were employing themselves. They were having their own, almost like a bank. They were running their own strong economy until FBI had to penetrate and try to assassinate people and destabilize the whole thing because it was becoming a strong thing. I don't think there's any black leader in the US that has mobilized people and mobilized resources like Elijah Muhammad. And I think there's something to learn about him. He's not a powerful orator. He's a very simple guy, but he had a powerful idea of organizing people. I mean, I don't stand for his ideals. I don't support or, believe in his ideals. But I loved the fact that he brought black people together, African Americans, and built an enterprise that was powerful. If it was given a chance, it would have become as economically powerful as the Mormons. Okay? And I think we need to learn one or two things from such people and put it in the right. Then Obadiah. Obadiah was Ahab's right-hand man. Right-hand man. He was a righteous man. Ahab was the second most evil king in Israel. He was the only person who he could not beat was Jeroboam, son of Nebat. But Ahab had a right-hand man called Obadiah. Do you know what Obadiah was doing? Obadiah, right in the midst of that place of evil, he had sheltered, is it how many? Several hundreds of servants of God, feeding them, taking care of them. He did not confront Ahab, but he was taking care of God's people. That's one approach, to infiltrate. And it's the approach Joy talked about. And then there's a second approach, Elijah, the last Elijah I'll talk about, Elijah in the Bible, who we need to go and pray and seek God. You see, we say, where is the God of Elijah? But the question is not where is the God of Elijah. Like, is it Leonard Ravenhill asks? It's where are the Elijahs of God? We need an Elijahs of God. And I'm hoping I can be one of them who will stand before the king and tell the king, it will not rain until I say so. And then God whisks me away to Tanzania, where Magufuli cannot allow anyone to come and pick me. Then I only show up once in a while in Namanga, a miracle, then I go back. So I am praying that I become that. Those are my humble submissions.
I hear you, Richie. And Ken, you're still all over the place. Your fingers are busy. Ken is saying, I care Christian laws must help us by collecting views from different denominations and take them on our behalf to Parliament. And then, where are the Elijahs of God? True. Richard Chago. Pastor Choco has spoken, Oscar says on YouTube. All right. Now, guys, I want to bring this show to some closure here. But there's something I want to follow this that you have said and David has said. Because I keep on saying, guys, we can talk here, but we must come with some action plan moving forward. And I agree. We said earlier on, and I think that's a settled deal. We're still following on the leadership document thing to be able to figure out how we can begin to train those that be in our midst that would want to take leadership roles and such, and of course going down to the younger ones and see how we can begin to disciple them. But that's now the long-term approach. Earlier on, I had mentioned, it's like the house is on fire. I mean, we need fire extinguishers as at now. And the reality that David brought to the fore, what we are looking at something very subtle that if we are not careful could throw us into some very serious issues and problems. And it's a divorce between the current president and the DP. When that becomes official, then there's bound to be trouble. When we begin to see the leaders that are, especially insulting one another, the left, right, and center from all these camps, it's just a matter of time, and then something dangerous can happen. We've only 2 years to go, maybe less, as far as the next election is concerned. Battle lines are already drawn. Men, we cannot sit, talk, and just watch. We've got to figure out How do we move forward? I appreciate the reality that you brought in, Richie. We are the Elijahs of God. We are the men and women that prayed and actually said, it shall not rain until I say so. And actually God did not allow rain. We need such men that carry such grace and such anointing. And number two, we need to ask ourselves, there is what God told Elijah when Elijah said, I'm the only one and they're seeking to kill me. The 7,000 that had not bowed their knee to Baal. The 700, I don't know the number, I think it was about that number that Obadiah you mentioned, had hidden and was feeding and taking care of. Right under the very nose of Ahab, a very evil king. Men, we need to be able to find those 7,000, those 700 people and figure out how we can bring them to, like what David said later on, it just caught my attention, that there are mechanics that really, given leadership, can actually be true to their career and can be faithful in their career. There are lawyers, there are accountants, there are people in high places of authority that will not bow their knee to Baal. Who is going to do that? And I'll tell you what, we have the corrupt and we have the remnant in the church. Let's agree. The corrupt are bringing their tithes. I kid you not. Na hiyo tithes tunatumia na tunafanya kazi ya Bwana. They are there. Let's be honest. They bring it. I don't know.
The wicked shall be
exactly
for the righteous.
But even then, there's no way we are going to really even be able to stand there and say we don't have people, even in our churches, in the house of God, and even elsewhere, even in churches that we think are nominal, men and women that say corruption is evil, and I will not engage. Because I think what Michael raised earlier on is really very, very important. The reality that is not just the leaders, it is a culture, it is in the core of Kenyans, bribery, corruption, eating and stuff. How do we begin to find those? Yes, how do we begin to find them and begin to organize them, begin to draw them together? You know what? If for example, this person, Richie, this church that is being asked to bribe, even but to bring a case to a group of people, 500,000 people that are part of a team or a group that say, when this happens, we're going to make the loudest noise this city has ever seen, and they will get their tent and do their thing. Do you think they will not listen to us when you have such people working together? And so I think that for me is one way of saying, okay, fine, as we work out to change the culture moving forward, but let's make sure we don't allow a Rwanda situation in this nation, because listen to me, a divorce between these two, seriously speaking, you don't need to be an idiot or foolish not to be able to see the problem already beginning to brew.
I don't know why you're saying
be able to finance the next tribal clash.
Already the divorce is there. It is something that is already open. In your combat tangazwa ama maybe so and so has not said A, B, and C, but you can see it is already there. It's completely already there. Does he attend? Sorry, I don't want to get into so much into deep of the whole thing, but you can see that the divorce is already there. Yeah. Whatever is taking place is already taking place as we speak. My prayer is, as we are heading to next year and the other following year, is that the Lord will have to grace us. But I'm coming back to what we said before. The key we guide some people who are ready. People who are ready to say that, come rain, come sunshine. Let us pray these people out. Let us pray.
Quick question. I was just going to ask a quick question.
Okay, fine. Okay, yeah, just Michael.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask a quick question. As men of God, I serve under a senior pastor, but, you guys are some of those churches that these politicians come to. And we were talking about being, standing with a backbone. But this comes there and anatoa mbegu ya 25 million Kenya shillings. Bwana asifiwe sana.
Hallelujah.
Yes. Do you return that money? Or do you, we don't ask, don't tell, but yet we know, pesa, I was invited to NTV one time, and we had this conversation, and the host asked that very important question. And one man from a very prolific, I won't even tell you which church it is because munaweza anguka tu chini hapa sasa. Yeye akasema wakikuja waweke 100 million hapo, aulizi, unasema Bwana asifiwe, you go and cash that thing, na utembee na Yesu. But so there were two, and then there was me, and then there was a Muslim. There was a Muslim cleric there. Na yeye akasema hiyo shida hatuna because they never bring that money to Muslim communities. We don't need that money. But as Christians, now you see, amesikia vile ule Mkristo amesema. Men of God, let us deal with these things reality-wise because 2022 ni inakuja. Wengine wenyu mtaitwa kuombea pale public forum, na unapatiwa milioni 5, Bwana asifiwe.
Ya mafuta, mtumishi, weka mafuta kwa gari.
No, I think we've laid a good foundation. I think what we need to do is look forward. Is look forward with an eye to say, how then do we bring in the company of, that group that David had, the David's mighty men. How do we raise Kenya's mighty men and bring them together, men who are not bowed? How do we get men who have decided? I know many of us have. I don't think there's anybody in this country who has not been caught and had to bribe their way out. It would be foolhardy to say none of us has done that. But for us to say from here on, you know what Singapore did? Singapore decided at one point, they said from today, kama uliiba jana, tumekusamehe. Lakini kutoka leo, hatuguzi. And ukiiba kutoka leo, this is what we do to you. And it is agreed. And from there now, they moved forward with a clarity and a commitment. We need to bring, because I don't think if we wait for government to make that decision for us, they will not. We as men of God need to be able to say, how do we rally the men and women who have this passion, who are feeling the pinch of this, who do not want their children to ask them questions 10 years, 20 years from now and have no answer. We need to rally those guys together and say, guys, let us begin the movement. Richie has mentioned this guy in the US who did that and rallied one of the biggest muscles of blacks to be able to form an economic bloc. Surely, with the number of Christians in this country, if we were to band together and say, guys, we will hold hands. If you are caught and we need to be able to bail you out without having to pay a bribe, we will come and bring this together. I have an idea about what we can do. Maybe off the cuff, because I think big things are not made in the public. We need to sit down and just have a little cohort and talk about it. Then once we've agreed, begin to invite like-minded men. So there's something that I feel God has put in my heart and probably put in some of our hearts, but we've just not coalesced it together. So let's talk and then bring it back when we have cooked it and it's ready to be served.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, David. One of the things I was just thinking we need to start off is actually a group where we can actually talk to one another to kind of begin to cook these ideas and figure out, share our minds. And I'm glad you're praying over this, and of course you feel some sense of direction there. That is really exciting to me. We need to bring ideas together, even outside this forum, and just begin to figure out how can we move things ahead. Before I call you to wrap it, I'm going to just read this because quite a good bunch of people have been actually commenting. Like Gatimu says, Christians need to defend the Constitution, stand firm when anyone abuses it, but not put our hopes on individuals. And then shida kubwa lakini ni hata hawajui iko na chapters ngapi, wacha hata kujua zinasema nini. Then one Oscar Osabini says, actually we are all under curse, the entire lot of us. Who is Uhuru, who is Ruto, who is Raila? Mere men. Katimu goes on to say, tupunguza uzembe, tusisomewe katiba na mtu jameni. And then Opio chimes in and says, Pastor Choga and Rev Ken, you need to consult Reverend Joya on political activism. Jeremiah 17:5. Oscar says, The curse is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart departs from the Lord. Then last Pierre says, you don't need to go to the street. You can borrow much from Oki or Mtata. I'm telling you, guys, I've got all kinds of ideas. Guys, let's just give it our last comment. But before that, Ken, you're still chatting here. So says your is the highest credit of KMC. No wonder the transfer. Oh, now I see. Dio ndo wanakulaga nyama mingi. Ndio wamepewa hii kazi.
Wachinje ng'ombe wenyewe.
Hao ndio wanakula nyama.
Hiyo sasa ndio conspiracy.
Wajijie.
Wachinje ng'ombe wafanye manual labor.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's wrap it up for the evening. And just if you could, just one word, 2 words. But I like what David has just brought in. I think we will speak outside this forum just for the purposes of creating some sense of a group that goes beyond just talking on coffee here, where we can actually chat and share ideas so that we can begin to hear what God is speaking. Because I think God is onto something here. I think we are on some interesting season, and I think there is hope if we can actually just play our role. And so we need to actually go on and just begin to talk outside, of course, this forum, see what we can do to push the right agenda forward. So just in 30 seconds, just say your last closing comments so that we can wrap it up for the evening, and then we'll be back again on Wednesday, see how far we can push this agenda. Mike? Okay, you didn't look ready, so let me jump over Ken. Ken looks ready. You are writing notes, I can see.
I am very ready.
Come on, Ken.
Yeah, I think my humble submissions will be lighter than the ones, my fellow sage, Richard Chogo, gave. But mine will be very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
Churches should now begin integrity camps, whereby we begin to train our teenagers, our young people on matters integrity. To an extent, they now have a mantra of paying 0 bribes whenever you are caught by anyone. Another thing I would say is that we can be able to raise awareness on matters of corruption through sports. We can score a goal of transparency, and we award someone who will score the goal of transparency. Or, we sponsor runners, as we run for, no corruption in Kenya. When we do something like that. We can also begin to use theaters and drama. We have music plays, poetry, dance against corruption, and those are things that are going to help us. And whenever we have a very nice skit or play that tackles corruption, all the churches should rally together and take that particular play, sponsor it, and let it go to, whether it's Nation or NTV or Citizen or whichever media that needs to go there. Encourage our young people to draw cartoons and comics against corruption. We just have to now go the whole way. Come up with people who are tech savvy and have, developed tech solutions whereby, we can be able to have reporting platforms on the web, through mobile apps, social media, and what have you. So whenever there's any corrupt deal, we post it right there so that everybody can be able to see. I think we just need to have more innovative ways on how we can be able to deal with corruption. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Jacom.
Myself, what I feel from my heart, just like I said before, is to rise up. Rising up could be in different ways, but my idea of the whole thing is to pray these people out. Pray them out. Pray them out. Just pray them out. Let's rise up and just pray them out. Just pray them out, to be honest. And, I think enough is enough. And where we have reached now is a matter of just calling it as it is. Lord, fulani na fulani na fulani na fulani ni wezi, ni wakora, ni wauaji, wasimamishe.
Amen. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have also another name that I want to throw here, and I'm not afraid to be quoted for throwing that name. You see, until God speaks to me and men like you convince me that there is another leader that is worth putting my support behind towards 2022, I am giving my time and effort to campaign for Mzee Kivuta Kibwana. I'm giving my time and effort. If any one of you has got another name, I will, gladly decamp and support somebody else whom any one of you will convince me otherwise. But in the meantime, I think we need to find a way of coming around this fellow and giving him a chance. That's what I'm committed to recruit people to support this man. I think he's our one little shot at a better Kenya. I believe, unless I'm convinced otherwise. Najua kuna watu hapa wa kutangatanga na mambo ingine, lakini Kivuta Kibwana.
Okay, I'll come to my class. Let me hear David on his parting shot.
Yes, Richie, God bless you for mentioning both. For me, I think it's just, I think for me, it's raise a critical mass of men of character. We have to crack that. Because even when we mention Kivuta, he will not get votes from the ordinary thinking man. And so we need to be able to raise a cohort of men who will say, we will rise above our tribes, we will rise above our selfish interests, we will rise above our national culture to be able to do the right thing. And so I will go with the words, I'll finish with the words of Miguna. Don't be disciplined, don't just call or send messages. Be disciplined, mobilize, organize, viva. Let's bring together men of character in this country. If we can't do that, it doesn't matter how good Kivuta is, he will not go through. He needs men around him. And I can tell you this because already I have friends of mine who are working with him. And the unfortunate thing is that even us as Christian leaders are sitting there and saying, you know what? We love him, he's a good man, but haezi toboa. Because we have
who is his father?
They are looking for his father, and they're looking at how it is organized. And so if we don't organize, and that's what I'm saying, we do not need to do this here in the public space. We need to sit down, because these guys are not sitting in public. They're sitting in quarters somewhere. They're sitting, the other day I was in Nakuru, and I met this gang of guys in a prominent hotel there, and they're sitting huddled together, COVID notwithstanding, organizing. You'll not see those videos of them in the hotel there discussing. You just see the declarations being made in one press conference or another. Let us organize, let us mobilize, let us be disciplined. Viva.
Viva. Okay, David, I'm willing to join your group right there. Mike, your parting shot.
Yes. Wale wa mama Waislamu wanga wanatembea pale pwani, wamevanga zile shuka zao, iko na metali pale chini. Inasemanga meno moja mswaki wa nini? It is until you lose that one tooth is when you know how powerful that tooth is. So the power in our nation is not our political leaders. It is the common mwananchi. Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of America, said, "A nation gets the leaders it deserves." So if you want to change the script, look at the mirror. And I think within us there is the unction that we can change this. We can change this script. I feel that strength. And so whichever way the Spirit of the Lord leads us, whether we have to start sitting and deliberating, even us, let those guys in those hotels walk in and see men of God deliberating. then they don't know. Because that's, the one thing that they have really taken advantage of is the church. It is the silent giant, When the Japanese bombed Hiroshima, one military commander said, "We have made the greatest mistake of the Second World War. We have woken the sleeping giant America." The church is that sleeping giant. It can change this nation.
That's true.
Amen.
Wow. Awesome. Absolutely agreed, guys. And thank you so much for your input and for the conversations. Let me just read one or two comments as we wrap it up. One, Oscar Sabina says, but let's remember there's no law against those who produce the fruit of the Spirit. And then he goes on to say, Kevuda is the man. Richie, kuna kura ingine hapo imeongezeka. Then on Facebook, we've got one Lois Kemboy who say we are at an age position as another country. I think the church is to act as a matter of urgency. Then one of Quidim Sweetie says, I like the integrity camp idea. He goes on to say, we take up mentorship, the young generation will bring in change. All right. Then Lois Kemboy chimes in and says, we are out in age position as a country. And I think, yes, that she just repeated herself there. One Okwiri Mswiti Kurata Peli hapo Richiki, one for President Lucida Bogus is watching. And then of course Ken. Ujai kusikia hii? Meno moja mswaki ya nini? All right, thank you, Oscar Sabina. You say have a good evening, guys. Well, guys, thank you so much for your contributions tonight. I absolutely love it. And I am refreshed. And David, I'm going to hold you accountable for that idea, because you can see already we are people that are going to say, yes, show us a camp of men of integrity that can rise up. And I'll tell you what, I still hold to my submission. There is 7,000 out there that have not bowed their knee to Baal. There is a remnant of men and women that are willing to pay the price for the sake of this nation to go to the next level, that will not bow their knee to the spirit of corruption, of bribing, and so on and so forth. And so we need to see, where are those men? Can you imagine? I said earlier on, if we had 500,000 men and women rallying behind, for example, the proposed president by Richie here, Kefula Kibwana, that would be a serious critical mass right there. And that's a serious voice that nobody can ignore. And I'm just not saying that to champion for Kefula or whatever. I'm just saying that, look, whoever we decide, can there be some sense of unity in the hearts of those men and women that have said, our nation must be saved, Kenya must be delivered, and we're willing to work together, not only pray together, we're willing to work together to see that happen. That would be a great thing to see. Well, thank you guys very much, and thank you for those of you that have been following and throwing in your comments. God bless you so much. As always, it's always a joy to host you. My name is Rev.Mathew Wambua, and having your host on Mathew'S Coffee Bar. As always, Wednesdays, 8 o'clock to 9:30. We have this conversation, Which Way Kenya? Otherwise, for me today is a big good night, and I will see you soon. God bless.